17% from the Iberian Peninsula. So maybe I'm
What?
Basque. And 1% Jewish, 1% Finnish, 1% Russian, and 1% Mali from West Africa, and 1%, what's the country right off of Madagascar in southern Africa? That's probably where my, great to about 10,000 generations ago. I was probably some, hairy, naked, barely tool using primate.
So you are very slightly African American.
Yes. 0.5% Mali, 0.5%. I was probably a captured slave in the 1400s or something. I don't know. That was taken to the Iberian Peninsula and married into a Spanish family that somehow had a connection to Great Britain, probably fell off the boat in the Spanish Armada. And
so that explains a lot. Falling off the boat, I mean.
Yeah. Well, according to my profile, it says you're more British than most Brits.
All right. I like the 1% Jewish.
Yeah. Well, at least I got a little in me. What can I say? At least I'm one of the chosen.
That's right. I just wonder who chose you. But I was thinking here, maybe I should get a DNA test. What do they cost now?
$99.
Okay. $99. Any listeners want to contribute to my DNA test?
I did it to see if my if I really had some Cherokee in me, because I wanted to get my card. If I did have a great grandmother, a great grandmother, I would be 1/8 Cherokee, and then I could get my card and get casino royalties. But no.
It's your relative's fault. So the whole thing here is you were trying to confirm the percentage of Native American blood in you.
Well, that was one reason, yeah. But I was just curious, and I love the fact that they did 20,000 markers, I think, or something. And it's fascinating to to trace your DNA back. Of course, I'm not sure if it was is it mitochondrial that they do? I'm not sure. I need to check. I just looked at the results. I didn't check and go deeper into it to see the actual science involved and which side of the family. It's probably my father's side, so it's a patrilineal test. A matrilineal test is going to be different because I do know my lineage on my mother's side, and I'm descendant of the Wygants and Carters, and they're English and German. So, but I had no German show up, no Irish. I mean, with a name like O'Brien, you'd think you at least have a little bit of Irish in you, but no, none, not one bit.
Long and short of it is that I would think that if Betty Hill's dress was managed or handled by aliens, would the DNA still be there after 50, 60 years or something like that?
Well, supposedly they excrete, their bodily waste from their skin. So I would imagine, yeah, it would be pretty obvious that there'd be some alien poo or something on that dress underneath the armpits, like she described, where they were carrying her. There should be something there.
But there isn't. There wasn't. Nothing was seen. See, this is the biggest problem we have with this. Sometimes you see something anomalous in the testing. Well, this isn't really normal. But at the end of the day, we've been saying UFOs are spaceships, or most people have been saying that. We obviously have the reality of the sightings and the radar and the trace evidence, but nothing says ET. Not a bit of it says ET, not at all.
Yep, you should think that one of those machines would have gone, ET, ET.
Okay, or something like that. Whatever it is, we're not seeing the evidence. It doesn't mean UFOs aren't spaceships. But I think when you reach a point where we're talking about all these years doing testing, researching, we see evidence of that. Now, of course, if they are time travelers from the future, like the 12 Monkeys TV show, or even from another dimension, I guess we'd see it. But if they're from right here on Earth, a breakaway civilization, whatever, obviously the DNA would be human where it exists. I don't know. Anyway, what we're going to talk about today in the Paracast has nothing whatever to do with trace evidence, although potentially it could. We've been talking about projects for UFO detectors, such as the San Luis Valley Camera Project, and of course UFO data. That project, which we featured on an episode of the Paracast, is run by Mark Roediger of the Center for UFO Studies, along with Leslie Kane. And read a story that Chris forwarded to me a few weeks back, headlined Vancouver Software Engineers Shoebox-Sized Satellite to Join the UFO Hunt. And we've been trying to get together with one of the team who's involved in this CubeSat for Disclosure venture to launch a UFO detector into low Earth orbit. And the fellow who's joining us is the project manager and software engineer by the name of Dave Cote. So we're going to find out from Dave in just a few minutes about how he got involved in UFOs, why he thinks a low Earth orbit satellite will be productive, the status of the project, and when it might be launched. And that sounds fascinating if you're looking for nuts and bolts UFO research to see what's going on. With Gina and Chris, you're in
The Paracast.
I know that a lot of our listeners are interested in UFOs, the issue of giant skeletons found in America, paranormal investigations, and what the top researchers think about such topics. One online magazine has been presenting such unusual information since 1985. It is Alternate Perceptions Magazine at apmagazine.info. Use their search function to find articles on just about every topic imaginable. That's apmagazine.info. Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
My dad was 59 when he collapsed from a heart attack late last year. Just this past August was when we spread his ashes on the St. Croix River. I loved my dad, but boy was he stubborn. He hadn't been to the doctor in over 25 years. His excuse? He simply couldn't afford it. He wasn't a rich man by any means. At less than $107 per month, LibertyOnCall.org would have been the perfect alternative for my father. Don't wait. Go to LibertyOnCall.org right now, for not just your sake, but for the sake of your loved ones. Again, that's LibertyOnCall.org.
It's no secret that pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, molds, and fungus can inflict severe damage in the human body. Fortunately, a new and vastly improved silver solution has been developed. Supernatural Silver is a revolutionary broad-spectrum antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal solution that can be used inside the body as well as on the skin. Supernatural Silver is unique and superior to colloidal and ionic silvers, using a patented technology that that is highly effective against colds, flus, infections, food poisoning, and yeast, in addition to many other pathogens. Supernatural Silver is scientifically supported, extremely safe, and is the #1 choice of thousands of people for immune system support. Find out how Supernatural Silver could change your life. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code HEALTHY for 20% off. That's supernaturalsilver.com. And like us on Facebook.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So we have Dave Cote. And
Hi there.
Hi there. Joining us on the Paracast with Gene and Chris. We're going to talk about this CubeSat project for disclosure. But first, let me remind you, we mentioned in our previous segment, we have a second radio show out there that we'd like you to listen to, like you to get caught up in. It's called After the Paracast. And originally it started out just to be kind of a wrap-up show or color commentary. But then we would do episodes, and suddenly we find that we can't just do the regular show in the normal amount of time. The guest has more to say. So we continue the episode in After the Paracast. We did that with our listener roundtable. We did that with another show of ours where we had the 10th anniversary episode. But to get After the Paracast, you've got to be a subscriber to the Paracast Plus. To learn more, go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. Dave Cote, first thing I want to know, sir, is how did you get interested in following UFOs?
Well, it started for me, I think it was around 2010, and I'd heard a lot of stories from various friends, some of them being reputable. One of them was a film director, as I used to work in film, and I never really thought too much of it. And around 2010, I had an old high school friend who I know quite well, trust him. He told me of an experience that he had had in California. For him, it was 2008, off the coast of California. He witnessed, apparently, like a mile-wide ship over the water, over a few islands. And the islands gave him reference so that he could say it was about a mile wide. He described all the details to me, and I mean, I was still quite skeptical. And I told him, like I know you, I trust you, but this is just like, it's out of this world, literally. And I had a hard time hearing his story. And at that point, he invited me. He said, would you like to see them? And I kind of thought, what? He said that ever since the sighting he had, it kind of terrified him. He said when it happened, cars came screeching to a halt. Some people screamed. And he says ever since it happened, he'll go looking in the night skies and he'll usually see something. Now, I don't know if there's a connection there, like he's had a sighting and then he sees more things. So he invited me along, and I thought, well, yeah, sure, I'd love to see something to help with my skepticism. And so he took me out to a place called Mission. It's close to my family's house near Vancouver. And we went to Roley Lake at night, and we kind of just sat under the stars and waited. It was about an hour in when I was losing hope, thinking, this is ridiculous. We saw something. We saw a little, looked like a flash bulb turn on above us, way up kind of in the atmosphere. And my friend, he started hollering, really excited. I just kind of jumped out of myself. I think it freaked me out a little as the light started kind of circling around and moving, and then it would turn out, and then it would turn on again, and it would kind of zigzag. Now, this was before drones existed, so it was not a drone, and it wasn't a plane, obviously, and it wasn't a helicopter. There was no sound. So at this point in time, my skepticism turned into a question of, like, what did I see? What what could this possibly be? And then I began researching the subject, trying to figure out what it was I was looking at that night. And since then, I went out that whole summer. I invited my brothers to come with us. We had a few sightings. I just could not get my logical brain around what we were seeing. So this is what kind of led to my interest in wanting to find a scientific way of pinning down what we were witnessing.
Let me ask you here, before you saw those orbs,
Yeah.
before your friend told you of the mile-long UFO,
Yeah.
you never read about the subject, you never paid attention to it?
I mean, in a fun kind of way, like watching X-Files and Ancient Aliens and documentary, that kind of thing, where it's interesting. It's like, I mean, I thought there's no proof for this, but it's an interesting theory that we've been visited.
So at this point, to you, it was just maybe a form of entertainment, some information, some relaxation. But you directly, having seen something strange, assume it must be extraterrestrial?
Well, one thing that happened was I saw these UFOs over the course of a summer. It told me that there's something there now. Whether this is a government black ops thing, however, in Canada, in the small town near Maple Ridge or Mission, I don't see how that would be the case. But it kind of verified what my friend had told me about this huge sighting that he had had. And if this huge sighting that he had seen in 2008 were true, then I can't see that being any kind of Earth project if it was literally a mile long. In my research after this, I came across like the famous Phoenix Lights. That's a very, reputable claim, and that ship was very large, and it's hard to see that as being something that humans or governments are playing with.
Fair enough. Now, how did you set up this project to send aloft a UFO detector? How did it lead to that? Just seeing something strange, seeing strange things in the sky?
Well, since that time, I mean, I've had a few sightings as I tend to look up a little more, day or night. I was in Thailand, in Bangkok, with my fiance a couple of years back, and we were on the roof of our apartment in broad daylight, just laying there, relaxing, and we saw a cigar-shaped object floating above us and going across the sky, and it had no wings. It was about probably the height, maybe a bit higher, as like a jet, an airline jet. But it was very strange. It was literally one of the cigar-shaped UFOs that you see pictures of.
Now, we're talking here about the same size as a regular aircraft, except without the wings and the tail, pretty much.
Pretty much. It might have been a bit larger, and we watched it for quite a while to make sure like there wasn't a trick of the light. And yeah, it had no wings. It was very strange. So since then, yeah, we've had a few other sightings, and it's just kind of been in my brain and one of those things that I can't figure out. And because of that, it's like something in my mind does not make sense. I was reading an article about Interorbital Systems. It's a company that does launches, and there's this big article on how they will send a really small tube sat. It's not quite a CubeSat, a little smaller, and they'll launch it for you for $8,000. And that kind of keened my interest, thinking, wow, maybe we can actually do an experiment to see what the UFO phenomenon is.
Before we get into our next segment, how interesting it is that a long time ago, you wanted to launch anything into orbit, any kind of orbit, any kind of satellite, you're talking about tens and tens of millions of dollars. So it's a province of very rich people or governments. Regular people couldn't do it. We want to get into this great equalizer in terms of launching a satellite and what you hope to accomplish, and we'll deal maybe more with your experiences. We have Dave Cote with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Don't know what's in your drinking water? Better get a Pro Pure. With the Pro 1 G2.0 all-in-one filter, remove over 200 contaminants, including fluoride and lead. Taste water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of Pro Pure water filtration products. There's a Pro Pure system for you. Visit your authorized Pro Pure dealer for details on our current free shipping special or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Serious investors and traders want to make 81% return in 60 seconds? Use the same secret algorithm professional hedge fund managers use to make billions of dollars of profits. Turn $250 into $4,903 in just 7 clicks of a mouse. Our tool is so simple that my 82-year-old grandmother can use it to make insane stock market profits. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. Watch the free video before the hedge funds make us take it down. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. From the Robert Allen System. Current returns not indicative of future results.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
No other network provides the level of customer service we do. When it comes to radio advertising, we are your one-stop shop. And no matter how big or small your business is, we can help. Email us at advertise@gcnlive.com, and an experienced advertising executive will help you take the first step towards driving more customers to your business or website. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
This is David Cordani, CEO of Cigna. For more than 20 years, Cigna has worked with the March of Dimes to address premature births in the U.S. Premature births cause horrible suffering and cost billions of dollars each year. That's why Cigna is committed to raising funds and awareness through our employees, family, and friends to improve the health of moms and babies. Please join us in supporting the March for Babies. Start your team today at marchforbabies.org.
Hi, this is Bryce Abel. I'm the producer of Dark Skies, the co-author of AD After Disclosure, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
On the Paracast, we have Dave Cote, who is a software engineer, has had UFO sightings, including a large cigar-shaped craft, and now is looking into the possibility and trying to make this project work, he and his colleagues, for a CubeSat. You're talking about $8,000 cost. What kind of launch is this? Is this regular orbit, like you launch a communications satellite or some kind of other probe?
The $8,000 launch was for a tiny device. It's called a TubeSat. It's smaller than a CubeSat. It wouldn't have much functionality to it. So what we're doing is we're launching a CubeSat, either a U1 or a U2, which is the U1 it's 10 centimeters cubed. A U2, you just double that. It's two of them stuck together. So our launch is actually going to cost, the launch itself is about $17,000 US, and then the building of the satellite will probably be about that as well. So it'll probably come up to 30,000, maybe a little more after everything is considered. And our launch, it will go, I think it's between 310 kilometers to 400 kilometers, depending on space weather at the day of the launch. This will only give us approximately 3 months of orbit before it re-enters and burns up. So it's not the same as like the Global Star network that's up.
Yeah, it's low. It's a low orbit. In other words.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of trajectory will it have once it's placed in orbit? Where would it will be? Will it be going around the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, the equator? Or?
It'll be a polar orbit, so it'll be launched heading south, and it'll do a polar orbit in a southward direction. I'm assuming it'll kind of go over different parts of the Earth, similar to the International Space Station. It kind of goes around, but then it moves over just a bit because of the rotation of the Earth.
So it'll be moving east every orbit. It'll have a slightly different longitude.
Yeah, so eventually it'll cover all parts of the globe.
So you're going to get a complete coverage with this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it'll be a small area for, like, it'll only see the small area as it's traveling around. It would be nice to have a network of maybe 100 of them, but
that would be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get into the details with you about this, what you hope to accomplish in terms of the measuring equipment on it. But is this also meant then as maybe a way to test the concept and maybe interest people who have the money to set up a complete network of these satellites?
Definitely. That's kind of my thoughts were, I mean, when I did my first, I think it was the first 2 months of our fundraising, a TV news media place contacted me out of Ontario and they interviewed me on it. And I thought, I've already kind of reached the goal of getting the word out, because yes, I think the fact that we're doing this, it kind of opens people's eyes and opens their minds to the fact that it's possible. I mean, it's not going to cost hundreds of millions anymore. With, $30,000-$40,000, anyone can just launch one of these things.
Okay, so obviously it is affordable. And just remember, just as an example of the cost, $17,000 for the launching, like that, the total cost being in the 30,000s range. That's about the cost of an average new car. I think an average new car in the United States is close to $34,000 now. So is this something that you can actually go to a bank and finance, or did you have to just use crowdfunding?
Well, in the beginning, when I had thought it would only cost $8,000, I was considering doing it myself. I contacted a couple friends and said, hey, do you guys want to get in on this with me? And one of them, no one would just, put up their money. And they suggested, why don't I do some crowdfunding? So I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a try. I didn't really have high hopes on it, but I thought, it's worth a try. So I put it up. And while I was putting it up and doing my research, I realized that to actually get the instruments we need, it's going to be a lot more. So I had set our initial crowdfunding at $50,000, because once data costs are included and everything is included, and we may have to pay some people for their time for soldering and electrical things, it does add up quite quickly. And so, that's how I ended up going the crowdsource route. I didn't finance any of it. None of it's on loan. It's all interested parties that are putting their own money in, and they just want to see us try to help disclosure happen.
So you expect here that there's a chance you'll be able to detect something strange?
I think so. I think there's a chance. I mean, just going on the sightings I've had, I'd say 50% of the time going out on a summer night near some water or lake and looking at the sky for a couple hours, we see something strange. Now, there are UFOs, they're unidentified flying objects. We don't know what they are. So if we see that half the time going out looking, and I don't go out often. Over the summer, maybe I'll go 5 times, and then 2 or 3 of those times we'll see a strange light in the sky that's not moving normally. So this gives me hopes to think that, we'll capture something. And with the right instruments, hopefully it won't just be a UFO, and we might be able to say it's an identifiable flying object.
What interests me, first of all, is the batting average you have in seeing strange things in the sky. People do this for years and see nothing. And you have a 50% chance of seeing something if you spend a few hours outside?
I think, what actually got me thinking about it was, I had never seen anything before. And I guess in my own mind, I would think, I've looked at the sky a lot. But I never actually put a blanket out, scanned the sky for, a 4-hour period of time. I'd never done that before. And I wonder how many people actually do that.
Well, first of all, I must have missed where these sighting events occurred. Where exactly were you?
This was in Mission, which is close to Vancouver, about an hour and a half drive from Vancouver, Canada.
But which direction?
East of Vancouver.
Okay, so you were, about
west coast of the continent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I grew up in Seattle.
Cool.
Yeah. I've been all through that area, Harrison Hot Springs, all the way over to Jasper and Lake Louise, and then up the Saskatchewan River Valley. An area that's really not that there's not that much population there. Have you spoke with Brian Vike, who's runs a kind of a UFO group there in BC?
No, actually, I haven't.
Yeah, you should look him up. Vike, Brian Vike. He's been a clearinghouse for British Columbia reports for 20 plus years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Because what you may want to do is, that's a pretty incredible statistic. Where I lived for 13 years down in Colorado, at least for the United States, has the per 10,000 population has the highest number of UFO sightings. It's around 273 sighting events per 10,000 population. So, what you're talking about is so far above any established level of sighting events for an area that I'm scratching my head going, man, maybe I should take a trip up there. If you think that every other time you go out, you're going to be seeing objects up there, maybe more people need to be focusing their attentions on that part of southern British Columbia.
And I'm going to ask you another question. We have to break in a moment. And that is here, you're having this great batting average. Have you talked to people who live in that area about whether they are seeing UFOs? Do the local newspapers or local media report frequent sightings? I want to know more about that, and we'll get into that and then focus more on your satellite project with Dave Cote. And Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Conspiracy Journal is your #1 source for the hidden world of the weird and strange. We bring you thought-provoking and controversial material for free-thinking individuals who are seeking what is really going on in our world today. Some of this material may adversely affect you. Other pieces are meant to enlighten. Either way, be prepared to be intrigued by such things as the reality of UFOs, ghosts, strange creatures from time and space, hidden conspiracies, time travel, Nikola Tesla, suppressed technology, and a whole lot more. You can find out more by visiting our website at conspiracyjournal.com. There you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter sent directly to your email address. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Destroy harmful bacteria, allergens, bed bugs, dust mites, fleas in your home with the Ladybug Steam Vapor System. The Ladybug dives deep on surfaces without any toxic residue. Traditional control agents contain toxic chemicals which do more harm than good. Sanitize and disinfect using just water. Quick, fast, and surprisingly easy.
Find out more now by calling 800-997-6584. Ask for Randy. That's 800-997-6584. Or go to advap.com/GCN. That's advap.com/GCN.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't pick on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for Life too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422.
Ted Anderson telling you about Jordan Rubin's Beyond Organic Green-Fed Raw Cheddar Artesian Cheese featuring whole milk created through ancient dairy breeding, unpasteurized, untreated whole milk on the same farm the cows graze, containing natural sources of omega-3s, CLA protein, calcium, probiotics, and enzymes. I have never tasted cheese this good, and you need to try it. Contact your Longevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Hi, this is James Fox from Chasing UFOs. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
We have Dave Cote, and he's involved in a project called CubeSat for Disclosure. And he was talking about the fact that he is seeing UFOs west of Vancouver in the province of British Columbia, Canada, has a 500 batting average, which means half the time he looks or goes out, he sees something. So what about the local media? What about the local populace? Are other people reporting a lot of UFOs?
Well, I have not looked into any reporting channels. I think I reported maybe one. I had found an app on my Android phone. Can't remember the name of the app, but you could report UFO sightings. You could also look for UFO reports within your radius, etc. I had done that once, but mainly I had just kind of talked about it with my family, my friends, people I'd take. My brothers are both science students as well, and they're highly skeptical. So whenever we would see something, we would talk about it, and by the time the next day had rolled around, we'd kind of discounted it as much as we could to the point where we didn't really believe what we saw again. And then we'd go another few nights and we'd see something else. And this is kind of the process we'd go through. I'll try to describe what we would see. That would be, a common thing that we would see is you'd see a quick little flash, like a flash bulb going off way in the atmosphere above you. And then you'd kind of pay attention, and then you'd wait, and then it would flash again and sometimes actually stay on for a bit. and this little light would kind of wiggle around, and then it would turn out. So then we would see that, and we'd think, what the heck? We'd start to talk about, well, it's not a plane, because, I mean, planes, they're very predictable. They have their flashing lights that they legally have to have. They move in a straight line. They don't go in arcs. No sound, so likely not a helicopter. Then we would start saying, well, could it be, a falling star or a meteor? I mean, if it's a flash, just a single flash, then yes, it very well could be a meteor just hitting, not streaking, because maybe it's coming directly at us. But when it actually stays on and moves a little bit, that's when you start to question, like, what on earth are we witnessing here? Some of the times we'd just see a flicker, like the light turn on for a sec, go off. Other times it would stay on and move about. I bet if I say how many times did we see something actually moving, making a motion through the sky, that would lower my batting average significantly. But yeah, we've had quite a few times that we were scratching our heads and not able to explain to each other or ourselves what we were seeing.
Chris, you've done so many years of field investigation. Ever hear of lights like that?
Yeah, I've heard of every configuration, every description, every color, every type of movement. There is no real rhyme or reason. It's very intriguing to me, though, that there should be all this apparent activity going on, and we just aren't hearing about it through Brian Vike and others. Of course, right there in Seattle is the National UFO Reporting Center, and Peter Davenport. I think if you want to do some more research, Dave, you should contact Peter and find out the kinds of reports that are right across the border there in north central Washington over towards, I guess, the Seattle area, and then up around between Nelson and Vancouver, and get a little better sense of what officially is being reported there. Some of what you're seeing could be some sort of Boeing might be trotting stuff out and test flying stuff over there. You never know. So I think it'd be interesting for you to do some research and get a little bit more up to speed on some of the activity that's going on in the area. I love the idea of your project. I think it's a really good one.
Oh, I was just saying thank you.
Yeah. Any sort of help that we can give you here at the Paracast, let us know. We have a international audience. We've got folks up in your area and all over the world listening to the show every week. And we do kind of pride ourselves in being up to speed on a lot of the different subject matters that we cover here, especially UFOs. And I think it's important for you to get up to speed. And that's going to help you, too, in terms of selecting the brands and types of equipment that you want to put on your bird. Obviously you're doing that, but I've got some contacts for you that guys that used to work at Aerojet and design optic systems for Department of Defense and other things. So you do have recourse in getting some consultancy type assistance from people that really know their stuff. And you don't, with this kind of operation and limited lifespan, you want to maximize the potential as much as you can. And bang for the buck, and there's ways to, you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, and the cost of the technology, as I'm sure you found out, is falling off a cliff, which is, I think, really good for the UFO detection projects out there. I have one going myself that's going to be a ground-based detection system, but triangulated array, so we can pull some good science out. You need to talk to some scientists, some optical physicists and others, and find out the kind of data that they would require to take seriously. That would be my number one suggestion. And I'm sure, to some extent you've done that, but, you should really spread your net far and wide for real good, targeted, professional scientific help with this. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky enough. I had a fellow named Matt Lippert who's come aboard. I'll give a bit of background. When I first started, I had a family friend, and he's taking his master's degree he's doing in CubeSat optimization, and he was going to help to build it and everything. Once we had our first news broadcast, I think it freaked him out a little because he's applying for his master's at different schools, and he pulled out, and he said, he didn't want to associate it with the UFO subject while he's applying to schools for his master's. And at that point, I kind of freaked out, thinking, wow, I guess I have to build this myself. I'd have to learn. But then a fellow from AFIT, the Air Force Institute of Technology, he sent me a message through our Kickstarter, and he said he's very interested. He had a similar idea that, he wanted to send a CubeSat up for a similar purpose, and he wanted to help out. I vetted him. I mean, the fact that he works for the Air Force, I had all kinds of, conspiracy thoughts like, oh, the Air Force, right? Are they trying to get involved or whatever? But it turns out he works for them in an educational capacity, basically teaching them about CubeSats. And he's got an interest in our project because he wants to start a CubeSat company. So by teaming up with us and building this with us, he gets to launch his first satellite and then kind of pull out from his current job and start his own Lippert Technologies, where he'll basically offer to people, let's build you a CubeSat. So it's kind of beneficial to him as well as us. And he's taken on the majority of the building of the components, which is great, because at the school, he's got access to electrical engineers, people who know how to actually do the soldering, etc. He's helped in a way that we can take it's called a BeagleBone black board, and then they'll swap the RAM out to make it a little sturdier for the radiation that's up in orbit. And he also has, he's got SpaceX on speed dial and all these different folks that he talks to. That alone has helped us a lot in terms of just the instruments, what's either available, what we need, things that don't exist that he's been able to kind of modulate or build himself. So I'm very thankful to Matt Lippert for coming aboard, and he's really making things a lot easier that way.
Now, I want to go into, when we get back after the break, into asking you about the equipment on the site, what assumptions you're making about what you hope to measure with regard to a UFO. But first, let me tell our listeners, now, as some of you already know, the Paracast is not all that we do. We have a second radio show where we cover personal technology with special interviews, the latest gadgets and such. It's called the Tech Night Owl Live. It was actually my first radio show. It started in 2002, and you could check it out at technightowl.com/radio. That's technightowl.com/radio. But we also have a companion radio show for the Paracast, and we call it, of course, After the Paracast. It includes color commentary, just Chris and I talking. Occasionally we continue interviews that began in the regular episode of the Paracast because it's just too much to cover, not enough time, and so we continue as we've done in recent weeks with our listener roundtable and also with our 10th anniversary show with Paul Kimball and Greg Bishop and Gox Mackay. To learn more about it, go to plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. And we have low subscription rates. You can try it month to month. You can try it by the year, by 5 years, and even a lifetime subscription, because we'll be here at least another 10 years, and it's certainly going to be a bargain. Plus.theparacast.com. We have Dave Cote joining us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best. Available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Okay, so we'll get back into some of the sighting stuff, but I wanted to focus a little bit more about CubeSat. So you're going to put up this satellite in low Earth orbit. What do you hope to measure? What kind of equipment are you going to put on it?
Well, primarily the first edition we had were cameras, and we will have two cameras, one facing earthbound and then one facing towards space. Now, the earthbound camera, I've been recently doing a bunch of image analysis just based on the live feeds of the ISS and taking a look at that, and it is going to be difficult to actually pick out objects on the earthbound range unless it's at night. If a UFO is lit up at night, then we're going to get a nice few pixels of light there. The spacebound also will be better in terms of capturing an object that's reflecting something. At that point, we're going to have to determine, was that another satellite? Was it space junk? Was it reflecting or emitting its own light source, etc.? So we'll have the cameras. There'll be high-def cameras that will be able to capture as much as it can based on its pixel count. We'll be removing the infrared filters that they put on a lot of cameras just so that you get a nice image without all the extra infrared. We'll be removing that filter, so we'll get the additional information of infrared spectrum that should be able to help. I'd say maybe it'll double our resolution. Then we will have, I had thought that high energy ionized radiation would be a good idea. So we'll have a Geiger counter on there. These things are usually directional, which will make it a little difficult unless the radiation readings spike all around our satellite. But in my research of UFO phenomenon, or where people have actually claimed that they've experienced like a landing, like there's one in the UK there in the forest. There's a few others I researched. They tended to mention electromagnetic radiation spikes during these events. So I thought, well, then we should be measuring that as well. So we're going to measure electromagnetic. So we've basically got high energy particles, electromagnetic, and then the visual and the infrared with our cameras.
There's two sensors that you really should consider, and that would be a gravitometer to measure changes in gravity, and also a magnetometer to measure changes in the electromagnetic spectrum. Those are two. Yeah. Those are two, forces that we are fairly certain are involved in UFO propulsion, and also, the types of effects that are reported by witnesses, car electrical systems crashing, that sort of thing. Changes in the Earth's gravitational field, or the amount of gravity is being affected by another gravity source. Things like optical collapsing of horizons, for instance, of footage taken out of airliner windows, and the intense gravitational field actually optically bends the light. So those are two really important ones. Something like a radiation detector, I think, would be fairly... I don't know. I just it would be superfluous. I think I don't think it would really have that you'd really learn much from that. Especially because in space you've got so much radiation bouncing around already. It's going to be ebbing and flowing all the time.
Yeah.
But changes in gravitational intensity and also changes in EM intensity is really important. Those are two sensor arrays that are, I think, crucial. Optically, scientists aren't really that impressed by optical information. They're impressed more with measuring other types of energy.
Yeah, I agree. And we do have the magnetometer on board. We have a 3-axis magnetometer, and then we'll also be getting the electromagnetic. The high energy radiation, the Geiger counter, it's just really light and really easy to stick on there, and really cheap. It's only like $100. So
so why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, you're right. Like, that may not show anything because there's also something we need to worry about. That's what's it called? The something anomaly. It's over, I think, Antarctica. It's this high radiation area that potentially our CubeSat will have to pass through on each orbit. Hopefully we'll miss it, but there's a chance we're going to be going through it. We're going to try to harden the satellite so that it doesn't get damaged. But in the past, this little anomaly, this anomalous area, has actually shut down satellites. So yeah, I mean, if we didn't know about that, we'd think, oh wow, there's definitely an anomaly happening every time we go over the Antarctic.
Right. I hate to be the negative nabob here.
That's okay.
But the one thing that I'd be most concerned with is having some sort of anti-satellite defense system, because chances are there'll be certain other neighbors in space that will be a little bit, I think, challenged by your project. And people have often joked with me that the one thing I need to be concerned with in the San Luis Valley with my 3-camera array is somebody flying by and zapping my cameras. And the same might hold true for you. It'd be interesting to maybe stick a radar unit on it to detect incoming anti-sat weapons.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that posed quite a few times, usually in the comment sections of articles and such. People will say the government's going to shoot it down and whatnot. And I mean, I suppose if that happened, that would just be a little bit of confirmation that maybe something is going on in space that people don't want us to know about. And as costs come down, I mean, maybe we'll just send up more and more.
Yeah, well, I said that kind of half in jest, but I've been told by a friend who was involved in most of our highly classified detection equipment up in space that since the early 90s, every satellite system we've put up there for the Department of Defense has also been pointed outward. So
really,
yeah,
that's crazy. Wow.
Well, I don't know if it's crazy, but it has a ring of truth to it. And this is somebody that worked on everything from Apollo all the way through to the early 90s on our very classified satellites that we have up there, with all bristling with detection arrays. Now, in terms of your camera, since you're relying heavily on the gee whiz factor, which of course is optical data. What kind of camera are we talking about here? Would you give me a sense of the actual resolution of the camera? You're talking 16K, 4K, what?
I think it's 4K. It's changed a few times, so let me see if I can actually find it here. It was, what was the one we were using?
This is where we do spontaneous radio. Instant research. Yes, sir.
It was the DSCS. Let me just quickly. DSC 2860.
Well, at what distance can it? I mean, because past a distance, a camera that could fit on a satellite that size is not going to be able to detect anything over, anything under a mile at that altitude. You're only going to be picking up motherships. You're not going to be picking up. You're only going to be picking up grand motherships, and you have a very small chance of getting motherships.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be similar to the camera that's used, the high def camera on the International Space Station, which, like, when you look down, you're going to see a whole bunch of clouds, you're going to see some ocean. And yes, if it were, you can barely make out a plane. A plane would be a couple pixels.
Right.
So in terms of that, we would be hoping that it would be closer and that we would be lucking out, coming across something.
Yeah,
obviously, again, it would be nice to have several of them spanning.
Well, a whole net of them would be ideal. Then you could cover the whole thing like a blanket. But yeah, so in other words, it's almost like playing the lottery to go up there because you never know.
True. Yeah, it is true.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of the CubeSat program and the plans and the hopes and the dreams with Dave Cote. And Gina and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a SelectQuote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Serious investors and traders want to make 81% return in 60 seconds? Use the same secret algorithm professional hedge fund managers use to make billions of dollars of profits. Turn $250 into $4,903 in just 7 clicks of a mouse. Our tool is so simple that my 82-year-old grandmother can use it to make insane stock market profits. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. Watch the free video before the hedge funds make us take it down. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. From the Robert Allen System, current returns not indicative of future results.
This is a healthcare alert from the Pain Relief Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You don't have to suffer any longer. You can immediately qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you by calling our 24/7 Pain Relief Hotline at 866-389-0620. Delivery is free and all paperwork is handled for you. If you are on Medicare and have knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain, don't wait. You can qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost by calling our 24/7 Pain Hotline now at 866-389-0620. Our representatives are standing by 24/7 to take your call and rush you your pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and all paperwork is handled for you. Just call 866-389-0620. That's 866-389-0620. Again, 866-389-0620.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't pick on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So we're going into space, maybe, with CubeSat. Dave Cote is part of the CubeSat for Disclosure project. So let's look at where we are now. And obviously, you haven't built the satellite yet, so things can change. Right now, the basic hope is that if you capture a UFO in terms of a photograph, it's got to be a pretty big UFO. It can't be one of the normal, so-called normal-sized craft, right?
Unless it's close. I mean, if it's within our field of view and it's high enough up in the altitude, which should, I mean, based on sightings that, like any sightings that I've had, or a majority of the sightings that I've heard about, they're usually quite high up in the lower atmosphere. So I would hope that we may capture something around that range in the low Earth orbit, basically.
Are you going to have optics also facing outward or just down?
Up and then down. We're aiming for a kind of a fisheye parabolic lens that will extend our field of view beyond what it would normally be capable of.
Right, so like an all-sky cam type, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, there are cameras that don't have the fisheye distortion that you can use, that have a tremendously wide field of view.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we'll be aiming for. I mean, we probably will not see the actual horizon, like dipping beyond the horizon, but we'll get a large portion of the sky around the satellite itself.
Now, this is obviously very much dependent on luck. That, number one, there are mothership-sized craft flying about, that they would get close enough to you to be able to detect them.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to be a little critical here, but I understand the nature of what you're doing, what you're trying to do. The chances for success are fairly low, aren't they?
I wouldn't go as far to say that. I mean, based on the sightings that do occur, I think we have a pretty good chance. I mean, it's going to be up there for 3 months, so that's quite a long time. I think the amount of photos, we're going to be taking close to 1 million photos that we'll be going through. So I think we have a pretty good chance of catching something, at least some anomaly of some sort.
Have you considered some sort of software that would be triggered like by motion? In other words, detect motion, and then use your optics to focus in and follow and track motion?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm actually working on that right now. I've been writing software that we're going to be putting on our boards, and it specifically does exactly that. It will detect motion, changes within the image, and then will allow us to refocus. And we've got some magnetotorquers that will actually allow us to move our cameras, move the sat, and focus on an area that we wish to focus on. So it won't be so much random. We will actually have some control and some automation in the process.
Very, very exciting. Is it going to be open source? Could I borrow your software?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been putting the word out through MUFON. I know there's a few groups that have been having a difficulty with that exactly.
Yeah, we have too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I'd love to share it. Everything will be open source.
Oh, man.
MUFON is sometimes...
If you were a girl, I'd kiss you.
Let's just stop the grisly stuff here. MUFON tends to be somewhat difficult.
Yeah, they have been difficult to actually get through to talk to someone. Took quite a while, but we ended up being contacted, and they did an article for us that they agreed to put it on their site. We had started out reaching out to different MUFON branches, like they'll have different MUFONs per state, and we had no success at all. And then Dave Schock, who's involved in the project as well, he had a contact that I guess works for the big MUFON, like the umbrella of them, and they ended up sending someone out to do an article on us and stuck it on their website. We're probably going to be going out in their little brochure they mail to everyone. So hopefully Dan Aykroyd's going to be looking at it because he's got his lifetime subscription to them. But yeah, they ended up coming around and being quite helpful. So we were really pleased with that.
Well, if you need some help with MUFON, let me know, because the head of MUFON is a friend, and I've known Jan Harzen for years. And if you need any sort of adrenaline shot for the process, let me know. And we here at the Paracast, we're more than willing to help well-conceived projects. So especially when it comes to networking with other like-minded individuals. So just let us know, and we'll help in any way that we can.
Let me ask you a question here too, and that is, once the satellite is aloft, and I'm going to assume here this is all going to come to pass, the project will be successful, you'll get a satellite up when you want. Okay, now what means are there to detect the signals? Is this something that can be measured around the world, or do you have to be in specific locations, or what?
Well, initially we were going to go through ham radio, but this was not feasible. I mean, we'd have to have such a network of ground stations all over the globe. The data rate was so slow. So what we ended up doing is we were talking to a company called Near Space Launch, and they work directly with Globalstar, who has their network of satellites all around the globe up there. And they sell services for sat telephones. Various different companies will purchase their data services. So we're getting a modem from them, and then we're just going to pay them a monthly data amount. So this is great, because this will allow us to have, I think it's like 98% global coverage. There might be a couple areas in the ocean that you'll miss a few minutes, but also we'll be able to log in either through their website or receive emails of our data, or they'll help us integrate it right into our own website. So that's how we're going to do our data, and it gives us a much higher data rate. The only limit then becomes cost.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how much is this going to cost a month?
Well, right now we're looking at, there's a package that's about $3,000 a month, which we should be able to do that. Now, this would allow us a constant stream, maybe every 3 seconds or every 5 seconds, of a small image. It's probably up to 200 kilobytes, which is tiny, and it still has a resolution that's 1900 by 1900. So the resolution's good. And then what we could do is stream that, and we'd have on our website like an image every 5 seconds. So kind of be like a really low frame rate video. And then if we can perfect the software enough that the anomaly detection gets really good, when it detects an anomaly, it would send a high def image. And I mean, if we could keep it down so it wasn't sending more than like 1 or 2 a day with real anomalies, then we could keep the data cost down. But if it starts sending high def images every second, then we're screwed.
Oh, that's a huge amount of data.
Now, if this is posted on your site, therefore anyone can go to your site and see the signals, the transmissions as they're received. We're going to ask more questions about that, about the project, where it's going to go, and maybe more about your viewpoints about UFOs, and since this is called CubeSat for disclosure, what you think governments might know about UFOs. We have Dave Cote joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Dr. Joel Wallach here. If you're a baby boomer and you're worried about the big epidemics coming, and I'm not talking about the bird flu or the swine flu, I'm talking about epidemics of Alzheimer's disease, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, arthritis, cancer. That's because the 80 million baby boomers followed all the advice of doctors, and Houston, we have a problem.
See Dr. Wallach live in Little Rock, Arkansas, Saturday, May 14th, 1 p.m. Go to www.cdocinarkansas.com. That's cdocinarkansas.com.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Block-It Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. Blockitpocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at blockitpocket.com or call 888-315-9618. Blockitpocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
You haven't experienced yogurt until you've tried a Mossy, embodying health and flavor in a true whole milk, green-fed dairy beverage. Every sip pays homage to our old world cows and the ancient culturing methods their milk benefits from. With over 30 probiotics, a Mossy's undeniably nutritious, refined, cultured sensation bolsters your health and awakens your passion for dairy. A Mossy's so good, and you need to try it. Contact your Longevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
Ted Anderson telling you about Jordan Rubin's Beyond Organic Green-Fed Raw Cheddar Artesian Cheese featuring whole milk created through ancient dairy breeding, unpasteurized, untreated whole milk on the same farm the cows graze, containing natural sources of omega-3s, CLA protein, calcium, probiotics, and enzymes. I have never tasted cheese this good, and you need to try it. Contact your Longevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
Destroy harmful bacteria, allergens, bed bugs, dust mites, fleas in your home with the Ladybug Steam Vapor System. The Ladybug dives deep on surfaces without any toxic residue. Traditional control agents contain toxic chemicals which do more harm than good. Sanitize and disinfect using just water. Quick, fast, and surprisingly easy.
Find out more now by calling 800-997-6584. Ask for Randy. That's 800-997-6584. Or go to advap.com/GCN. That's advap.com/GCN.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
So the question I asked Dave Cote is, based on what you're telling me, once this is up, once this is launched, once this is working, we can go to your site and see the pictures.
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, I'll go further to say I'm working on the software now, and I've just been coding like crazy. And what I'm using is, because it's freely available, we've got the International Space Station's high-def cam that's similar to the camera we'll be using in terms of field of view. I'm running the software on that camera, the live stream. And I was thinking of actually, maybe in the next few days, putting up a dummy website that would stream their pictures and just do a mock scan of anomalies just to get a feel. I'd like to also put a comment board and people could comment suggestions. I'm measuring on my own laptop here, like how many pictures it's downloading, how much space it's taking up per day. It's pretty good so far. I mean, it's not going over 3 to 6 gigabytes per day. Now that's the high def images. So it looks like it's starting to work.
Okay, let me ask you here more about this. And that is, once this is up, once you've got your first satellite, and hopefully there will be more, would you consider running images from other UFO detection projects?
I'd love that. I mean, if people wanted to collaborate, that would be wonderful.
You see, that's part of the picture here, is so much has been in the UFO field where there's not a lot of cooperation. But I wanted to go back briefly to your sightings. You've got all this instrumentation that you're contemplating for your satellite. You're seeing UFOs regularly. When you go out to do your sky watching, what do you have with you?
I usually bring myself, a friend, a blanket, and a laser pointer. And recently I purchased a night vision monocular, like a Owl Eye, I think is the brand, something like that, Owl something. I was a little bit discouraged after I purchased the night vision because it basically cut my sightings down to 25%, because I think there's a lot of space junk up there. I saw a few little flashes, not the ones that turned on and moved around, but just little flashes that I thought could be something significant. However, once looking through my night vision, I would see, oh, wait, I can actually make it out, and it looks like a tumbling piece of space junk. So, yeah, usually when I go out, I'll bring a little laser pointer. It depends on whether you believe in this kind of thing or not, but my friend who initially took me for my first sighting, the one who had the huge experience, he seemed to think that, he straight up thinks they're extraterrestrials in their spaceships and they're very connected to us. He had made a few comments to me saying on our first night of a sighting, don't be scared. He said, they can sense it. I thought this was kind of strange, of course, but he said he'd taken friends in the past who were kind of terrified and they'd see nothing. And then the friend would go off into the bushes to the bathroom and he would see something. This implied that there's some kind of like a psychic connection or something. And I don't know how much I put into that, how much I believe in that. But I will say that I tried meditating a few times, and the times I did meditate, we did see something. So, I don't know how far open your mind has to be to believe that kind of stuff, but maybe there's something to it.
Well, if you're Stephen Greer,
yeah, exactly.
Well, understand something here, that Stephen Greer is someone who is not one of our favorite people.
No, okay.
We don't see that any validity to his evidence. He's more in it, we think, to make money from having people pay large amounts for UFO skywatch.
Right.
Well, to get trained as an ambassador to the universe with him as our chief representative, I do think that there is a very large untapped potential in looking at the role of consciousness and the UFO phenomenon. Without question, there is a link. How that link can be manifested is still open to some interpretation, but nowhere near enough work has been done in that particular realm. And I do agree that there may be some sort of validity to being part of a co-creative process, shall we say, I think, for lack of a better definition. But there is a lot of work that needs to be done in that realm. I'm convinced.
I agree. I tend to need the scientific stuff, the facts to look at. But I have practiced some meditation, and like I said, the few times we did meditate at night, we would have a sighting. It was interesting. So yeah, I think consciousness is something that's not understood is basically what it is.
Of course, with a satellite, you can't have the satellite do any meditation, but are you thinking that maybe when the satellite is aloft and when it's a particular area that's near you, it's orbiting not far from you, that you do a little consciousness work to see what you could generate?
Well, I've never thought of that. Huh. Perhaps we will. Yeah. It wouldn't hurt to try, right?
I guess it doesn't, because we're still, making assumptions in terms of what's going to happen here. You have to hope that a UFO is going to be aloft in a low space area at the time that your satellite's in the exact place you need.
I agree. And I tend to switch between the two mindsets of, I think we're going to find something, to, I don't think we're going to find something. And I kind of go back and forth. I've been writing the software and playing with the space station video, and my software is picking up anomalies and changes in the images, which is great. but I've actually been scanning through them and I never find something, and I get discouraged and I think, man, we're never going to find something, until I realize, wait, this is a NASA camera, and I mean, the outages are about once per hour, I think, on their little camera, where they go to blue screen. And that makes me think, how do they have that many outages? I mean, if their oxygen systems had an outage, you know, there'd be some real problems. So perhaps, you know, maybe they are censoring. Maybe they're censoring things. And then I'll jump back to, yes, we're definitely gonna find something. And I kind of just keep going back and forth, and we'll just see what we come up with, I guess.
Okay, you have a crowdsourcing project to raise money. Where's that stand?
We are at approximately $30,000 US.
And you need how much again?
I think we're there. I think we could accomplish a U1 CubeSat at this point. However, we would not get all the instruments we need, as well as the data cost that we're going to be paying for. So right now, where we stand is I've written a check to the launch company, Interorbital Systems. $16,625 has been sent to them. We're on their manifest. We're going to launch middle of next year. We should be up on their website soon in their little manifest section. Then I have $10,000, a check's written to Matt Lippert. He's building the satellite with some colleagues out of AFIT. That should be able to buy most of the components. Now, he has mentioned there might be a little bit more because he can't do some of the electrical engineering in terms of if we have to actually custom build some things. So he may have to pay a bit of a salary or an hourly rate to some people. And if he needs to do that, it might cost a little bit more. Then I have a Kickstarter that just finished, and we get probably about $5,000 from that. That's going to go towards the data costs. So that's...
So it looks like right now, we have to break in a moment. Right now, it looks like you're almost there, but a few $1,000s more wouldn't hurt. We have Dave Cote, and we're talking about CubeSat for disclosure, launching a UFO detector in space to find them. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
This is Sharon Hunt. Before using Heart and Body Extract, my energy level was very, very low. I could only walk a few feet and then would have to sit down. I was tired and lethargic. But after taking Heart and Body Extract, my energy level has improved greatly, and I can now walk longer distances without getting tired so fast. Thank you, Heart and Body Extract.
Learn the secrets of an effective, natural, 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation at hbextract.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831-0771.
Hey everyone, with 20 plus years as a radio host, I've seen about everything. One thing that keeps recurring though are these timeshare charlatans, these high pressure salespeople who get folks to come out to some resort for a special weekend offer. Then they get them in a corner and browbeat them and coerce them into buying a timeshare they don't need, they don't want, and they can't afford. And then they're stuck with that thing forever. Monthly payments, mortgage payments, annual fees that keep going up and up. Well, up until recently, people thought they couldn't get rid of these things. You know, you can't get out of the contract, you can't get out of the deed or the membership. Well, that's not true. My friends at American Consumer Credit, a timeshare release company, can get you free. That's their personal guarantee. 12 years in business, free consultation, A-plus rating with the BBB. They're the real deal. You want to get out of your timeshare contract? Call them now. 800-587-EXIT. That's 800-587-3948. 800-587-EXIT. Call now, 800-587-3948.
You haven't experienced yogurt until you've tried a Mossy, embodying health and flavor in a true whole milk, grain-fed dairy beverage. Every sip pays homage to our old world cows and the ancient culturing methods their milk benefits from. With over 30 probiotics, a Mossy's undeniably nutritious, refined, cultured sensation bolsters your health and awakens your passion for dairy. A Mossy's so good, and you need to try it. Contact your Youngevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gray Alien Report, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So let's continue with this now. I assume, therefore, that if people still want to get involved, maybe donate a few dollars or a tax refund or something, they can go to your Kickstarter campaign. Is that where they go?
Actually, now we have it's an Indiegogo campaign. We had a Kickstarter, it completed. So we've started an Indiegogo campaign. We have a link, it's cubesat.tech, so cubesat.tech. That will always point to the current campaign that's running, and once the launch happens, it'll point to our website. It'll have all the images, etc. There's a chance we may keep the Indiegogo running for good. I mean, if it seems like there's a lot of interest in this, we could end up putting further donations towards another launch. So I guess we'll see. Like if this is successful and interesting enough, maybe it could be a yearly thing. Like every year we have a 3-month window of looking for phenomenon and keeping the website running and just see what we come up with.
What's the batting average of this launching place in terms of getting satellites into orbit successfully?
I think they have a perfect record. I mean, on their manifest and all their launches, they've made no mention of any failed launches. I think it's like they're quite secretive about their technology, and maybe they've had some failures that they don't mention publicly. But I think some of their secrecy comes from their efficiency. They found a way to launch these satellites like commercially. I mean, they're a private company, and so they want to hold to their secrets, tightly.
Is there any guarantee at all, or is it done without a warranty of success?
There's not a guarantee. So yeah, if a rocket exploded, we would lose everything. I guess that's just the way that has to go.
Well, I wouldn't want to raise that possibility. Obviously, we all hope the thing does work.
They've got a good record, and their technology seems pretty amazing, because I know there's a lot of other companies that are kind of vying for the same technology, which is, I mean, these are not rockets like SpaceX or like NASA where they're sending things deep space or, lunar or Mars mission. These are very affordable, successful rockets that can get stuff into low Earth orbit, and they seem to have a really good average of getting things there, so...
Since you call yourself CubeSat for disclosure, Let's look at the UFO thing for a moment here. And that is, do you think the governments of Earth know something, have guilty knowledge about UFOs, and that if we got them to talk, we'd hear some pretty interesting stuff?
Wow. I guess that's the question. When I first, had a sighting, I didn't think in those terms at all. I was more curious about, what have I seen? But now, being involved and having done some research and having talked to certain people, I think there might be a lot to that, or at least something to that. Dave Schock, who's involved with the project, and he's helped quite a lot, he came in because years ago he had a similar idea to send a satellite for UFO purposes. But that was about a decade ago, maybe longer, and it was going to cost him $200 million to do so. Now, obviously, he was trying to raise quite a lot of money, and a lot of people were hearing about it. He ended up rubbing shoulders with various people. One of them worked for the president's office at the time and kind of gave him some advice and told him that basically he had the okay that if he did get the funding and launch this thing, I guess, long story short, the government wouldn't mind if UFOs were disclosed. But it was kind of along the lines of, maybe they've known about it, maybe there's a secret, maybe if they came out with disclosure right now, people get really angry. So maybe they would like if some private citizens figured some stuff out so they could just kind of go, wow, it's there, interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of interesting testimony from really credible people that seem to think that, yes, the government knows about it. Yes, there's visitation happening, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, tagging the term rather, disclosure to the project is an interesting choice. I think that could aid you, for the wider population who's interested in this subject and really lust after that disclosure, that magical day when Obama or Donald Trump, God forbid, trots out the press conference with a little alien hand in hand and saying, well, we're finally going to fess up, and here's our little space buddies, and we've known X amount about these beings for X amount of years, and of course, half the population immediately would think it's just some sort of CGI trick and that it's not to be taken seriously. And the other half would, I don't think they'd freak out like they did in 1938 when Orson Welles did the fake War of the Worlds broadcast. I think that excuse is not tenable here in this modern age. But the whole idea of tagging that term disclosure onto your project kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit. What prompted that particular decision to put that word there?
I think it was mainly because I think more interest comes to the project as a result of putting it into the category of disclosure. Disclosure implies that there's something to disclose, when I guess the truth of the matter is we don't have enough scientific evidence to say that there's anything to disclose. But I kind of think about the testimony that exists from the pilots and military personnel, etc. And I think, well, as verbal testimony, that would go a long way in a court of law. If you had that much verbal testimony from that many witnesses, it would hold up in court. So based on that, I'd say, okay, well, that's the disclosure we're going for. We're going to disclose whatever it is that's going on in the atmosphere of Earth.
You thought about possibly approaching other governments who have already kind of opened up their files a little bit, loosened the secrecy of their files a bit, like the United Kingdom, Brazil, France, countries like that, and possibly talked with some of the movers and shakers in those communities to possibly get some real deep pocket help from other governments, let's say, put a little more pressure on the U.S. With this. Have you considered that, or you're just going for a complete grassroots crowdfunding thing?
I think, initially and still, I'd like to stay as much, I think, away from governments or big companies, and try to keep this as much as a citizen-oriented project as possible. I think along the lines of open sourcing it, I think that's a better approach. I think it's more respectable, more believable, more transparent that way. Because if somebody with a lot of money comes aboard, they're probably going to want control. And, then maybe we won't be able to show everyone our software, show everyone every single image. I've kind of read some things of one of them. I can't remember who the fellow's name was, but he got involved with MUFON and funding their stars.
His name is Robert Bigelow. Right. And there was all this kind of conspiracy of, did he do this just as a means to get control of the information? And I mean, whether this is the case or isn't the case, it's like the questions start to arise once big money gets involved, and I don't really want that. I want to keep it, it's a bunch of people putting their money together to do something really interesting. Yeah, he also is the only private individual in the world that has his own orbiting space station.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
And he's been contracted by NASA to supply modules for orbiting space platforms. Bigelow Aerospace.
That's interesting. Did he have his space station before he was involved with MUFON? That's an interesting question.
That is a good question. Gene, when did he launch Genesis 1?
I will research it.
Huh.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not one to jump on conspiracies, but I think, if deep pockets and big money or governments were to jump in and fund our project and give us like $1 million or $100 million, I think then a lot of questions would arise from people, and whether these questions were valid or not, I just think they would arise.
No. Well, Lawrence Rockefeller funded me for 2 years, no strings attached.
Wow. That is cool.
So, there is hope.
That is really cool. Wow.
Before we break, Genesis 1 was launched on July 12, 2006. That's quite a bit before the connection to MUFON. We've got Dave Cote joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare, because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you...
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So isn't that interesting? If we're looking for anniversaries, Genesis 1 from Bigelow Aerospace launched in 2006 on July 12th. The Paracast debuts February 28th of that year. There was no connection whatever. Genesis 2 was launched in 2007.
Very cool.
We really like to educate our guests when they come on the show.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. The topics we're touching upon, there's so much information. There's the UFO subject, there's all the different government questions, there's, now we're on to this Bigelow fellow and MUFON, and then there's the science, there's the CubeSat, there's all the different aspects of the camera and what we're measuring. So there's a lot of fields kind of being clumped together here. I think it's really interesting.
Have you gotten any response from the Canadian government about your effort? Has there been any sort of dialogue there? I'd be interested to know what your mother country there would officially have to say about an effort like that. Trudeau seems like a pretty open-minded guy.
Well, I have not actually reached out to any governments per se. I've basically talked to whomever media outlet is interested in doing interviews for radio, interviews for television, interviews for articles, written articles. But I haven't put out any emails to actual governments. Mainly we've hit up all the different news agencies that we could think of.
Are you getting much response from America?
Quite a lot. Let me think. I could say our funders are global. We had a lot of American support from people contributing, but then we had a lot from France, South America, South Africa, Mexico, Germany. We've had basically most of the countries, most of the major industrial countries have kind of come on board. But this is citizens, of course, not governments.
What about news media?
News media, it's been pretty good. As for mainstream, we've only had one. It was based out of Ontario, CHCH News. They wanted to do a Skype interview, a video interview, and they actually aired it on Canadian national television, which was very cool. Then we had the Province newspaper, which is our actual local newspaper here in Vancouver. They did an article on us. I think they were the two only real mainstream news companies that got involved. And strangely, right after CHCH aired our interview, they claimed bankruptcy. And I'm really hoping there was no connection there.
Well, strange things happen with UFOs. What about detractors? Have you had any people say, hey, this is nonsense, what are you doing, you're wasting money, what?
Not really. We've had some questions of the technical capabilities. I've had a few people comment that there's no way I can pull this off because of the various testing that has to happen, like the vibration testing and hardening everything to radiation. And I happen to be very lucky that Matt Lippert came on, and he actually has access to the facilities to do these tests, and it's not going to cost us anything. So that's really cool. That's the main thing. And then, of course, some people are just skeptical that we'll find anything because some people don't think anything exists out there.
Well, you don't know unless you try. In terms of the amount of money you're spending, it's chump change. I mean, if you can get somebody like a Donald Trump to say, here's $1 million, why don't you launch a bunch of satellites?
I mean, wow, that would be crazy.
But a dude like that, he's going to want some control.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, my thoughts are basically that anytime something that humans come across that is strange or interesting, we study it. It's kind of just what we do. We figure out what's going on and we study it, whether it be a particle decayed in a funny manner. We want to know why. Why did it decay that way? Why didn't it fit the models we currently have, etc.? And we spend, human beings spend hundreds of billions of dollars studying things. So what's funny about the possible extraterrestrial phenomenon is that you get all these people saying they're witness to something strange, they're witness to a sighting, You get pilots, you get some credible people, like the Canadian ex-minister of defense. He says he has knowledge that, Earth has been visited. So basically you have all these people who've seen things and something weird's happening, and yet it hasn't been scientifically probed. And I think that it should be.
Now, one thing occurred to me just as I was thinking here. You have this area west of Vancouver where you're regularly seeing things. Ever consider the possibility of putting a surface-based UFO detection system in that area to see what would happen?
I haven't thought of it, but that's probably a really cool idea.
It would probably cost a heck of a lot less than a CubeSat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would. And another one that I recently thought of, I came upon it just based on testing of the CubeSat. Weather balloons. You can launch a weather balloon or get one for like a couple $100, like under $1,000. We could put all the same instruments on a weather balloon that would do all the same things, basically. And it would be a tiny fraction of the cost.
What would it cost for the instrumentation? The same as the satellite or a lot less?
A lot less, because you wouldn't have to harden it for space. You wouldn't have to care so much about it being perfect, because your launch mechanism costs $500. Whereas with a satellite, you want everything to be perfect because you're spending $17,000 just for the launch.
Well, let me just be a devil's advocate here. You have a place there, and Chris is sympathetic to this because he's in a similar situation. You have a place that appears to be attracting a lot of unusual events.
Mm-hmm.
With a satellite, the chances of capturing anything aren't that high, but it's certainly worth the effort to try. You've got to try, especially if UFOs are related to outer space. But now you have a place here that for a small amount of money that maybe you can just do it with a credit card or something, or have each of your partners, your 7 partners, say, okay, we'll go get a credit card advance for $500 each, and we'll put something together with a balloon-based system, with a surface-based system. Hey, why aren't you doing it?
That's a good idea. I mean, I hadn't thought of it prior to this. One reason that kind of drove my interest in a satellite was that if you came across something that was in the atmosphere, you would likely, like if you're close enough to get it visually, you're also going to be close enough to get some electromagnetic measurements. You're also going to be close enough to get some possible radiation measurements. So that's why I think it was a good idea to build a satellite that's got all the things condensed into one. I think a ground operation is a great idea. It may be difficult. I don't know about measuring the electromagnetic, depending if you get something visual. I mean, if it's in the lower atmosphere, you're probably not going to be able to measure too much in terms of electromagnetics or gravitation.
It's all depends on field strength and proximity.
Okay, but yeah,
I've been doing working for a number of years on a triangulated instrumented array in the San Luis Valley, which is fairly well known for its ongoing waves of anomalous aerial object activity. And with the proper software for detect motion and track motion, you can send coordinate data to all the cameras, and they can swing around and triangulate. When you start triangulating arrays on objects, the amount of data that you can, just optical data, for instance, you'd be able to determine, a vast amount of facts about the event.
Let's do our break. We've got more to talk about, and Chris, of course, is defining the project that he's setting up. We have Dave Cote. We're talking about CubeSat and maybe some ideas for other measuring systems. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
If you're fascinated by UFOs, ancient aliens, archaeological mysteries, ghost hunting, Atlantis, and any other paranormal topic as we are, be sure to check out apmagazine.info each month. Since 1985, it has presented the latest research by top researchers like Andrew Collins, Brad Steiger, and many others, and contains interviews with such leading personalities as Jacques Vallée. Click on one of their banners and check out apmagazine.info. As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So, Chris, you were explaining, and we can continue now, the way you're setting up your system. Go ahead, please.
Well, what we've decided to do, because I know a satellite, I mean, that's really sexy sounding, and there would be a lot of interest in a project like that. Something that I'm doing doesn't have quite the cachet, let's say, of a project like CubeSat, but I think it's important to begin both. It's kind of a double-pronged attack here. Identify hotspot areas, have have in place of fixed locations to monitor the above Earth airspace here, but combined with a system that's also spaceborne. Wouldn't it be neat if you were headed over the Rocky Mountains and all of a sudden we had an event in southern Colorado, and my system was operating and your system was operating? The data that you could glean from that would be just dazzling.
Yeah.
But again, I think the kind of idea you have could be, the space version of what I've been proposing and what I'm in the midst of setting up right now. We actually did a beta test a few years ago, and we're able to capture some pretty interesting anomalies that turned out to be mundane. But it's good to be able to get a bunch of data together that then you can use to factor out false positives, shall we say. So, I think both approaches, are important to monitor hotspot areas and then to monitor, airspace. I think once you get a satellite network up, and possibly even something with more technology in it that could be placed higher and still have the capabilities of a low orbital platform, then you could talk about geosynchronous orbits, that sort of thing. A question that kind of comes up in my mind is space is filled with a lot of junk up there, and are these orbital paths? How are you choosing this particular orbital path, and do you have any sort of, I don't know, it's awful small, so I guess colliding with some space junk is probably not too much of a concern, but is there a way to determine an optimal orbital path that keeps you out of harm's way with the thousands of bolts and screws and stuff traveling at amazing speeds up there? Is there a way to figure all that out in advance? Is there some sort of algorithm?
I mean, I'm sure there is, but I think that's something that interorbital systems will be dealing with.
Yeah.
Because they do all the launches, and I'm sure they've kind of figured that stuff out. I've never heard of any of their satellites being damaged by space junk. I think there's only been a few events where some space junk actually wrecked a satellite.
Right.
For the most part, I don't think we're high enough up to worry so much.
Yeah, because you are in low. You said what, 300 kilometers up, or?
Yeah, about 310 kilometers. So we're much lower than the space station, and we're not as high as a lot of the telecommunication satellites that are up there.
Well, and most of the space junk too. You're way below that. Yeah. Apparently,
a lot of the space junk I was reading about was created when, I think it was China, they sent an anti-satellite missile up to test. They destroyed one of their own satellites, but it created thousands and thousands of little bits of junk that's up there now.
So it's the Chinese fault. They did it all.
It was a test, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of countries have screwed things up with tests, but yeah, it's kind of terrible.
Yeah. Well, there's talk of a robotic satellite system that'll be sent up like a large garbage collector that's going to be going and collecting. It'll be, they'll have maneuverable capabilities, so they're going to be scooping up space junk.
The movie Gravity, that was quite terrifying, and that sort of had to do with space junk.
Yeah, it did. How about micrometeorites, things like that? I mean, are you going to be able to withstand dust particles traveling at 60,000 miles an hour or something?
We can hope. We can definitely hope. I mean,
micrometeorites.
Let's say we were hit by a meteorite, that would be almost as amazing as catching an anomaly.
The odds against that are
but
are pretty much in your favor.
Yeah, I have to say I definitely agree that putting together like the CubeSat or any space observations along with ground observations, I hadn't actually thought of teaming up that way, because I was thinking, well, what we'd rely on is, MUFON reports. So say we do capture something, and then we've got some visual, then we've got some electromagnetic and whatever else. But then we go to the sighting reports and see if there was anything happening in that same area that same day. But also, yes, ground-based data that could correlate with it, I think would be amazing.
That would be, oh man, I'd need a hanky just thinking about that. Oh.
We're getting kind of grisly here, folks. This is family radio.
Oh, I'd have to blow my nose because I'd be so excited.
If we could do a first project that was successful and show people that, for not so much money, you could put these things up, be it a ground station, a CubeSat, weather balloon, whatever. But if more people interested in the topic would start doing it, we could do it globally. I mean, our coverage would increase 1,000-fold.
Yeah, I'll say.
Now, I'm going to ask you a quick question here, too. All right, so say you want to adapt your CubeSat project to a surface system, a balloon-based system. All right. How long do you think it would take you to do that? And would it cause you to sacrifice the work you're doing on the satellite?
I don't think so. I haven't done any research on the balloons. That recently got into my brain, just talking of testing and then realizing, oh my goodness, these balloons exist. I don't even know what the rules are around launching them. There's probably some kind of rules in terms of where you launch it, how long it's allowed to be up, etc.
Just make sure it doesn't crash at Roswell.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have an idea for you for funding.
Yeah.
Since you're going to have a live feed on the internet, why not sell advertising to have a logo in the lower right-hand corner for Dow Chemical or Monsanto or, some big pocket corporation and just say, hey, how would you like to have your logo on the only spaceborne UFO detection system on the feed?
Yeah, that's probably a great idea. I mean,
no, it is a great idea. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Send Chris a check for this. You could use it to pay for the San Luis Valley project.
I'll take a 10% finder's fee for the idea.
The other idea might be here, you said this will be open source, which means that anybody could get the software.
Yeah,
they can download the software and everything. But what about assembling construction kits, developing a construction kit where anybody who wanted to build a similar system could go ahead and do it, and this way you can expand your coverage, and you're doing it in a way that you're not merchandising, although I guess you could sell ready-made kits, which would be one way to merchandise it. But setting up a system here where you provide instructions. This is the equipment we need for the cameras. This is what we need for this. Here is the software, kind of almost like a turnkey system that people could build without too much trouble. And then if that works, then you can actually start assembling them and selling them and use that to finance further projects. I'm developing a whole marketing plan for you here, and I know nothing about marketing, as most people know. Dave Cote is joining us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
By now, you know the smart way to buy emergency food storage is calories per dollar. Ready Supply Foods sells you 50% more food for your money. GMO-free, 25-year shelf life, great tasting, and free shipping. You need 2,000 calories per day under ideal conditions. Most 30-day kits don't have enough calories to sustain you for more than a week. They just don't have enough nutrition to do the job. See the comparisons for yourself at ReadySupplyFoods.com. We are the new leader in value and quality. Go to ReadySupplyFoods.com today.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size for incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency. Get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
My name is Don Wiskin, and at 42 years old, I suffered a massive heart attack and was told I'd be on disability for the rest of my life. What did I do? I created Extendivite, a garlic and cayenne mix of 7 herbs which rebuilt my heart and gave me back my life. For over 17 years now, I have made this formula available to you so you don't have to suffer the same thing I did. Clean your blocked arteries and strengthen your heart and boost your natural immune system. I'm 60 years old now and I still work every day. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is Rick Ossick, president of Famous Footwear. Our company is working together with the March of Dimes through March for Babies to raise money and awareness about the serious problem of premature birth in the U.S. As a business leader, I know that babies born very sick or too soon cost businesses billions of dollars each year, in addition to the emotional stress on employees and their families. That's why Famous Footwear is committed to raising funds to improve the health of moms and babies everywhere. Won't you please join us in the March for Babies? Start a team today at marchforbabies.org.
Hi, this is Nick Pope. You're listening to the Paracast.
I'm kind of serious here, Dave Cote. What do you think, Chris?
Hey, more heads are better than one. We've come up with 2 great ideas that could generate some additional interest and also generate, those very important $100 a day to pay for your actual downlink.
I mean, I'll comment to all that, to all those questions and ideas. I think the idea of having like advertising banners on the site is a great one. I don't know what our monthly hits are going to be like. I'd like to think it'd be really high, being the first CubeSat launched by citizens for this purpose. So yeah, we'll definitely try that. And as for the software and open sourcing, I'm definitely going to, open source, give it to anyone who's interested. It's basically just, I'm writing it in Python, and everything I'm using to write it is also open source. I'm just kind of putting the pieces together. I'm very open to sharing it as I perfect it.
This is Linux or what?
Yeah, well, I'm doing it on Linux on Ubuntu, but you can get Python on Windows, you can get Python on Mac. It's kind of the most common software language that's out there. Like most web servers that run your websites, a large percent of them run Ubuntu, the server version of Ubuntu. Ubuntu comes with Python, so it's built right into it.
Now, the servers that I've run are CentOS, which is like the open source version of Red Hat.
That's very similar. Python will run on that as well.
Okay, but what I'm thinking here is, obviously Windows is a more complicated beast in terms of taking something from Linux, but porting something from Linux to a Mac, because of the family resemblance, they're both Unix, ought to be a piece of cake, don't you think?
It's pretty easy, yeah.
So I'm encouraging you here to build a Mac version, is what I'm doing.
Oh, well, yeah, Python runs on Mac very easily. Basically, you make sure you have an interpreter, Python interpreter. Just make sure you have all the drivers that will run Python, and then the software will run on it. The way I'm running it now, I'm running it on a live interpreter. So I open the Python interpreter, and then I run the code. I can also run it from a script. I can also make it executable. But it's pretty simple in terms of a language that people can understand. I think most computer programmers dabble in Python, so I think it's a good choice. And then finally, to comment on the little kits, like if we were to give kits or open source how to build, that's going to be up to Matt Lippert and Lippert Technologies, which will be the company that he's starting. I know that I signed an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, to look at all his parts and chassis, and he uses 3D printers to, print the frame, that kind of thing. I don't know how open he wants to be, because he's actually going to be starting a CubeSat company. He's going to be building kits for universities, which is going to be cool. So I know he's very excited about that. He's going to be sending kits out to university, encouraging them to start teaching a course on CubeSats, that kind of thing. I will definitely put out there as much as I can in terms of how to build your own CubeSat.
Okay, but I'm not just thinking of CubeSat. I'm thinking of detection systems for surface placement and for balloon placement. That at least may not infringe on whatever he wants to do. So if he wants to keep that proprietary, that's fine. But you could still adapt it to surface and balloon use.
That's a great idea. Yeah. I say we should do that.
Chris, we ought to get something started here, I think.
Well, I'm definitely going to be getting your contact information after we're done taping here, because, boy, I'll tell you, we have a team of postdoc students in Italy that have been scratching their heads. They've come up with good software for nighttime use, but the real obviously the best data is going to be gathered during the daylight hours, and we're having problem with ground clutter and other things. And Douglas Trumbull, who of course is the special effects whiz that did the special effects for Close Encounters and 2001, Blade Runner, blah blah blah. I had the pleasure and honor of meeting him some weeks ago at the International UFO Congress, and I made the comment, boy, I sure wish we could get a hold of some of that military targeting software. And he goes, oh, it's not as hard as you think. Yeah, he said, well, there's a will, there's a way, so with a twinkle in his eye, kind of a little wink, wink, so I'm not exactly sure what that meant, but believe me, I'm going to find out.
Just parenthetically here, your colleague Dave Schott wrote me and said that he came very close to meeting me or Chris at the International UFO Congress, but evidently Alejandro Rojas was busy talking to somebody else and it didn't work out.
That's too bad. Yeah, he was down there for, I think, a full day, and he had a blast. I wish I could have been there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, because, boy, if we could get the bugs worked out of our system, that would enable us to go full speed ahead. Right now, that's the one thing that's hanging us up. The area in Colorado where this array will be placed is in south central Colorado, above the border with New Mexico. It's a known UFO hotspot. There's been thousands of sightings there, ebbing and flowing in waves. And one of the things, again, that we really want is obviously detect motion and coordinate triangulation with motion tracking. So once we get past that hurdle, we're going to be raring to go. And we're also going to be providing kits for others to set up systems at other hotspot areas. The other problem that we were having is bandwidth. And because it is such a remote rural area, it's taken quite a while for the area to catch up to the state of technology now. But now we're in a situation where that problem has been solved by the inexorable spread of T2 lines and high bandwidth scenarios. So that is no longer a problem. The only sticky wicket right now is, like I said, that motion tracking software. So any help that you could provide our team, any sort of ideas or obviously we're going to be dealing with different problems. One being spaceborne, one being ground located. So, but I'm sure brilliant minds working together have a habit of being able to conquer obstacles, I think, for lack of a better term. So I'm really excited to speak further with you about this, and I do urge you to come up with creative ways of funding the project so that you can start putting up other birds and expanding the network. And I think this is very exciting. Like you mentioned at the top of the show, when I costed out a 3-camera system back in '94 and '95, it would have been $1 million to do what we can now do today for about $20,000.
Wow, isn't that crazy? Wow.
Yeah, well, I love it. It's a 20+ year vision that we're almost at the point of actualizing, and I think the idea of having some advertising on the site. You could approach the companies that are supplying your optics, companies that are supplying, the constituent parts basically, and then other people like MUFON, get them to pony up some dough, and I think there's all sorts of marketing potential for companies out there to have such a high visibility project, as an advertising and marketing vehicle, and we live in a capitalist system, so why not take advantage of it?
One thing I want to say though, Chris, before we go on, getting MUFON to contribute anything other than maybe some coverage to the event is easier said than done.
That's true.
They don't normally do things like that.
They had considered possibly putting a little bit of a donate thing in regards to our project, but I think their budget is kind of thin. I don't think they have a lot of money. I think they rely on raising funds through their own site for themselves. So that's probably why. But yeah, I think for coverage they could be really good, like getting the word out. I mean, their newsletter that goes out to all the subscribers, including Dan Aykroyd, I think that's great.
If you can get Dan Aykroyd to participate, that'd be great. If you try to reach out to him, I'll ask you that question, and we'll have your answer on the other side. We've got one more segment, one more few minutes to spend with Dave Cote, with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. Lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831-0771.
Serious investors and traders want to make 81% return in 60 seconds? Use the same secret algorithm professional hedge fund managers use to make billions of dollars of profits. Turn $250 into $4,903 in just 7 clicks of a mouse. Our tool is so simple that my 82-year-old grandmother can use it to make insane stock market profits. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. Watch the free video before the hedge funds make us take it down. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. From the Robert Allen System, current returns not indicative of future results.
This is Sharon Hunt. Before using Heart and Body Extract, my energy level was very, very low. I could only walk a few feet and then would have to sit down. I was tired and lethargic, but after taking Heart and Body Extract, my energy level has improved greatly, and I can now walk longer distances without getting tired so fast. Thank you, Heart and Body Extract.
Learn the secrets of an effective, natural, 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation at hbextract.com.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, the author of This Book is from the Future, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So Dave Cote, with regard to CubeSat, and we know Dan Aykroyd is a paying member, lifetime member of MUFON, and he's got plenty of money. Have you tried to reach out to him directly to see if he'd be willing to provide some assistance?
I have. It's very hard to get a hold of celebrities now. It's not that they're not interested. It's that too many people try to contact them. And working in film, I had to kind of learn how to get a hold of people. And sometimes you'll go through an agent for like a large actor, and you'll have to pay a fee just to get a meeting with them, or you'll have to have a guaranteed amount if you're going to book them for a role. So I think they weed out the people that want to swarm them, the paparazzi, that kind of thing. What I did is I found an email for Dan Aykroyd has a wine company that he started, and I sent an email through the wine company website hoping that it could get to him. I also tried Twitter. I've tried various people through Twitter, but I haven't had too much of a response with that. So I'm sure they get thousands of tweets from people every day. And yeah, it's difficult.
Well, Crystal had vodka.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he spoke down in Phoenix about 3 or 4 years ago at a book signing. He does pop up from time to time here and there. But the guy's, obviously got deep pockets. I mean, just his syndicated Elwood's Bluesmobile. I mean, God, he must have a steady source of weekly income just from that, from Red Wing Boots and some of the advertisers that are real faithful on that program. So, I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. The best way to get to these people is to find somebody that's close to them, who would be easier to approach and get to them. And to interest Dan Aykroyd in something like this, I think is a no-brainer. I think if you put out some sort of message through Jan Harzen at MUFON, or, if you take a side channel, back channel to get to him, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if he would be very, very supportive.
Yeah, and I'm hoping so. I mean, so yes, we've talked to Jan at MUFON. He was supportive of our project, and it has helped to include us in an article on their site. Through that channel, a newsletter should be going out within the next month. It's their monthly, I think it's a monthly newsletter that comes from MUFON.
Yes.
And that's the printed one that we've been told Dan Aykroyd reads all of them. So that's kind of the channel that we're hoping reaches him. Because I think with someone like him who has such an interest in this topic, it's not a matter of they're not going to want to talk to you about it. It's more a matter of getting the information in front of their eyes. That's the challenge. So I'm hoping that the newsletter, tips them off, and maybe we get an email. Even just a mention would probably help us out quite a lot.
Yeah. Also, Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 is a huge UFO buff, and Robbie Williams, the pop singer from England, is also a huge UFO buff. And there's others too. There's the Shirley MacLaines, and you could go down the list of people that have. Even what's his name, Sammy Hagar, claimed he's an abductee.
Really? Oh, wow.
And he's got some serious dough.
And Rihanna apparently hired someone to be down close to Area 51 and report to her any sightings he has, any interesting news.
Right.
So that's
Katy Perry.
Yeah, and Bieber apparently is a UFO nut as well.
Well, I'd stay away from that one, but...
Who? Beaver? Oh, Justin Bieber. I think we should send him in orbit.
You never know. Yeah.
Isn't he a small guy? Maybe it wouldn't take much.
Maybe.
Yeah, I would love to launch him into low Earth orbit and then have a big party watching him re-enter.
Oh, dear.
Let's not get violent, because people will then say, you know what, we could do that to Donald Trump.
Well, you brought it up. What is the lifespan? 3 months, you said?
3 months. If say we get a huge, crazy solar month, it could lower it to 2 months. But technically, it could go longer. 4 or 5 months.
Oh, that's great.
It depends on space weather is the major factor. I think we're in a peak right now, so we're in one of the busier areas.
Right.
So we're probably looking at 3 months.
Yeah, we're going out of a solar 11-year solar peak year. I think it came early this time.
Yeah. So hopefully by next year, it'll have died down enough so that we get, at least our 3 months. That would be nice.
Yeah. The other thing I would really urge you is to get somebody to help bring the team up to speed about the subject of ufology. I think it's important once you get closer to launch date. It's important to be really knowledgeable about the subject, obviously, and I'm sure you're scrambling to get up to speed. But if you need any help in that regard, the Paracast is a perfect place to pick some brains. We have some very, very brilliant people on our forums, people way smarter